Have you ever played a game of League of Legends and thought to yourself, man, I sure do wish I could lose my LP on the go from the comfort of a random city bus? Well, boy, do I have some good news for you. Hello Summoners, and welcome to another Pro Guides video. Today we'll be discussing everything we know so far about Riot's newest upcoming mobile release, League of Legends Wild Rift. Before we get into that though, today's question of the day is, which champion do you think would be the hardest to pilot on the mobile platform? Let us know your answers in the comments, in our new Pro Guides Discord, or you can even discuss it on our new Pro Guides subreddit. Check them out, they're full of great information for helping you improve, as well as finding like-minded peers on their journey up the ladder. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into it. Back in October, during Riot's 10-year anniversary, they announced a slew of things lined up for the nearish future. But one of the most interesting announcements was League of Legends Wild Rift. Wild Rift is Riot's mobile and console port for League of Legends, something the community has been asking about and requesting for years. Naturally, they can't just port over Summoner's Rift and all its champions and skins as they are, so they've made a few changes to how the game will function at a basic mechanical level, to better accommodate the switch in platform. The biggest change of these is that, obviously, people on consoles and phones can't play the game with a mouse and keyboard. So, Riot has instead opted for a dual joystick system that will work with both touchscreens and console controllers. Of course, switching the basic mechanics to a joystick system makes some of League's abilities difficult to imagine, so the dev team has been hard at work giving certain abilities quality of life touch-ups. For example, Miss Fortune's double tap won't be a point-and-click ability on Wild Rift. It'll be a skill shot that she aims with the right joystick. Similarly, Annie's Disintegrate will also now be a skill shot instead of a point-and-click. Another direction the devs seem to want to take is changing passive abilities into more interactive versions of themselves, like Vayne's Silver Bolt being an active attack speed steroid. Some champions will be almost the same, but other champions will be receiving mild overhauls, like Shyvana receiving buffs based on what type of Drake she kills. If she kills an Infernal Drake, for example, she receives some true damage in her kit. If she kills a Mountain Drake, she gets a slow added to her kit. Exciting changes like these are what make the concept of Wild Rift so interesting. It's a blank slate for Riot to explore some new possibilities in the game. Granted, some of these displayed changes seem a bit terrifying, like Ashe's ultimate now being a guided projectile, like Yuumi's Q, or Lux's ult seemingly now spanning the entire map. But we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Now, while changing abilities and fighting mechanics to fit the other platform is a large task, there are also other changes that need to be made for a game to really fit the mobile/console demographic. Regular PC League of Legends games tend to take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes more, and that's simply too long for most mobile users. To that end, Riot's taken measures to kind of slim the time frame down to 15 to 20 minutes per game. They mentioned this time frame in a few instances, and it remains to be seen if there's going to be some sort of hard cap to that, like there was in Nexus Blitz, where the Nexus would eventually just stand up, take matters into their own hands, and slug it out. But it's more than likely that this is just their target marker. In order to accomplish this, they've condensed the map a bit, so it takes less time for things to happen. With a shorter map comes faster rotations, comes faster paced gameplay. You get the gist. It also seems like they've changed up the rune system a bit to be more universal with what you can pick, even going so far as to add some runes that are completely unique to Wild Rift, like a buff to defensive stats when you're in close proximity to your lane partner. There have been implications that the game's scaling itself will also be slightly accelerated through higher gold income, but that remains to be seen. Either way, Riot has set a goal for themselves, and it seems like they're taking decent steps to achieve it. Aside from changes to the map itself, Riot's also made changes to how certain fixtures on the map function. Red buff is now a straight-up damage buff, and later in the game when it respawns, it becomes the evolved Red Brambleback, which gives a late-game damage buff, whatever that entails. Probably just more damage, but who knows, there may be a twist. The blue buff has also received a slight tweak to give HP and mana regen, and just like red buff, once the game progresses enough, it'll respawn as an evolved blue sentinel, which gives a late game regeneration buff. In the same vein as evolved buffs, Elder Drake isn't quite the same on Wild Rift either. Rather than being its own entity, there are instead Elder Drakes for each element, which will just give a more powerful version of the same buff their smaller cousins give. The last really significant change is that it seems like each Nexus no longer has turrets guarding them. Instead, they have their own built-in blasting system to defend themselves. This is most likely another change to cut down on the time it takes to wrap up games, and it's a neat idea, and honestly I'm here for it. So I'm sure you all are wondering which champions have and haven't made the cut into Wild Rift. And while Riot, of course, wasn't able to fit every champion into the game, they've given us a pretty good baseline to work with. The champions we are confirmed to get in the Wild Rift as of right now are Ahri, Alistar, Annie, Ashe, Aurelion Sol, Blitzcrank, Braum, Camille, Ezreal, Fiora, Fizz, Garen, Gragas, Graves, Janna, Jax, Jhin, Jinx, Lux, Malphite, Master Yi, Misfortune, Nami, Nasus, Olaf, Orianna, Shyvana, Soraka, Tryndamere, Twisted Fate, Vayne, Vi, Xin Zhao, Yasuo, Zed, and Ziggs. The important thing to note here is that Riot will still be adding champions into the game as time goes on. These are just the 40 that will be available on Wild Rift's release. Progression in Wild Rift will be completely independent of the PC version, since they're entirely separate games. And while it's going to kind of suck to have to go back and earn champions again, it will at least still be free, technically, as free as your patience allows. Just like there will only be 40 champions on release, skins will be limited on release as well. It'll be kind of a bummer to not have all of our favorite skins available to us, but the good news is that the reason this is happening is because Riot's having to redesign the model and skins for each champion from the ground up. Meaning some skins, like Angler Jax, are getting way more detail and attention than they currently have in the PC version. Just like champions though, your skins won't carry over from the PC version, which is more than a bit irritating. But on the plus side, Riot has said they do plan on rewarding PC veterans who swap over to the game in some way, shape, or form. We just have no idea what those rewards might entail yet. Probably just a couple free champions or unique skins, but who knows? It is what it is. I will say one other really positive thing about the skins though. It seems like Riot's added little tiny animations to each skin when you pull it up in their store. Sort of like what Pulsefire Ezreal has in regards to the League client, except better and without the ugly face animation. These revamped skins look really good, and having these extra little animations is neat and brings some life to them. Now that we know what champions will be releasing with the game, you might be thinking, but what about the items? I'm nothing without my super cool AP Jinx build. Well, worry not, citizen. The vast majority of League's items will still be available on Wild Rift, and there'll even be a couple of new ones. The caveat here is that a lot of items have been retuned to facilitate the faster game time goals, but functionally, it's looking like they're all going to be serving the same purpose. The biggest change to items that we've seen so far is that you can only have one active item in your build, and it works as an enchantment to your boots. This includes everything from Redemption to Zhonya's to Locket, so you'll have to choose wisely. But the silver lining is that with stats no longer being tied into the active itself, we'll see a bit more diversity in who uses which active items. Like ADCs who aren't Kai'Sa now have unpunished access to Zhonya's Hourglass. For a bit of convenience, they've also added a recommended buy feature that pops up on its own when you're in the fountain. That way, you don't have to pull up the shop and navigate through it to find simpler purchases. As with all forms of item recommendations, make sure you're getting what you need for the situation at hand. But it's nice to have the option to save crucial seconds. For those wondering about how the game will work between platforms, Wild Rift is technically an entirely separate game, so there won't ever be any cross-play between Wild Rift and regular PC League of Legends. However, events that happen in League will also supposedly happen in Wild Rift, and it's even possible that at some point in the deeper future, there could be crossplay between the mobile version of Wild Rift and the console version. Maybe not the most mind-blowing thing ever, but it'd be pretty cool to be able to give the virtual hands anytime, any place. There's currently a test phase going on in Brazil and the Philippines, and eventually the testing will most likely come to bigger servers too, like North America, Europe, Korea, and China. If you're interested in being one of the first to play Wild Rift, you can pre-register in the Play Store if you're an Android user. If you're on a console or an iPhone, you'll have to wait a bit longer to have access. But Riot has stated that it will eventually be available, even if that means waiting for the full release. It seems like Riot's devs are working really hard though, so it's probably not too terribly far into the horizon. In terms of how demanding the game is on your system, Riot has said that for the iPhone, 5S users, and onward, they should have no problem running the game. And for Android users, anything equivalent to the Samsung Galaxy A7's processing specs should be fine as well. Basically, if your phone is from 2014 onwards, you're probably fine to play. All in all, it seems like Riot's doing a really good job, bringing League of Legends to life in a fresh new way that fits the mobile and console platforms. I usually roll my eyes when I hear of something going to mobile because it's probably going to be terrible, but from what I see, the changes they're making are interesting, well designed, and seem to have some pretty good logic behind them. By the end of 2020, we'll all be able to take all of our prime League of Legends salt with us wherever we go, enjoying our favorite headache anywhere at any time. You know, assuming the world hasn't collapsed by then anyway. Who knows? I mean, the year is still young. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope you're looking forward to Wild Rift just as much as all of us here are. Once again, let us know in the comments which champion you think would be the hardest to pilot on the mobile platform, so we can hit you guys with a hot, fresh heart react. We really do love hearing from all of you. See you guys next time, good luck on the Rift, and wash your hands.